Hey folks, it's Samantha once again, and welcome back to another review. Had some time today, finishing up my movie collection videos, and figure since I'm in this room, some people like the background, I do a couple more videos. And one of them, Gunnar Hansen, who's no longer with us, recently passed away, did a lot of films like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and this film, Mosquito, which actually I think for Gunnar, show this cover here. With Gunnar right there on the cover. Who is interviewed. Before he passed away, he did do an interview for this film. Now, I reviewed the film. I'll try, if I remember, put the link down below to my review. Long story short, I grew up with this movie. I watched this film way back on videotape when it was this cover. Millions of years of evolution have just become mankind's worst nightmare. And I remember loving it, but never having it. Never had it on VHS. I rented it from the store, though, more than once. And then, if you got lucky, you would see it on cable. There was a DVD that came out, but then really quickly it became really hard to find and really hard to pick up unless you wanted like to pay $100 or $200 for it. So I was surprised as hell when Synapse came out with this 20th anniversary edition. And again, I'll get to the Blu-ray real quick, but again, a few thoughts on the movie. It's a fun B movie. You know, the acting is not Oscar caliber, but there's people I like. I like Gunnar Hansen. I like the meteorologist Steve Dixon. I might have fun with Ron Asheton. You know, the acting for a B movie I could deal with. The effects were fun to watch. You have some big practical effects, actual giant mosquitoes, not like that piece of shit movie Steeder, which I also reviewed and ranted on. Steeder is how you do this in a shitty way. That's why Steeder doesn't have a 20th anniversary Blu-ray with features, but Mosquito does. So thank you, something actually comes out that's right. Not Steeder, that piece of shit, which is more about, you know, land development, bad guys, dealing with them, and then in the background, once in a blue moon, is a killer mosquito that's this big. No, this is about mosquitoes, first and foremost, that are giant motherfuckers. And they shot it with this boom type thing that fly through. You have very gory deaths, a stinger in the eye, a stinger in a woman's butt cheek, sucking a guy and his eyeballs pop out. You have some fun stop motion animation and actual 2D animation and matte paintings. I mean, I think one review said it best. It's a giant killer bud movie made by people who enjoy giant killer bud movies. And that's Mosquito. Just very fun. Maybe it takes a little bit slow start to get going, but when it does, you have, you know, buds blowing up by shotguns, and I reviewed the film. I'll put it down below if you want to hear more of my thoughts. But getting to the Blu-ray, Synapse did a great job. I mean, they also did the Prom Night Blu-ray. They did a great job with that. Synapse, I give much credit for this. First off, it's nice to see the film. The only time I had seen the film was either maybe on cable or on videotape, so, you know, the picture quality, it's never going to be HD. Well, it's HD, but it's not going to be like the Avengers, Iron Man, fucking, you know, that type of thing. It's a 1995 low-budget creature feature flick. But, you know, looks nice enough. Yeah, better than VHS. That's really all I was looking for. But the features, I mean, you get a commentary with director and co-writer Gary Jones, director of photography and co-writer Tom Chaney, and producer David Thierry. And it's a laid-back commentary. They know what film they made, and they're proud of it, and they're not bashing it. And they give like little details about the film, like the, you know, certain miniatures they used and how they worked with, made the bugs fly and so on and so forth. You have deleted and extended scenes featuring optional commentary with director Gary Jones. Pretty much a few deleted scenes, about 7 minutes long, where low extended with the meteorologist Steve Dixon, the low extended thing with Ron Asheton, who, for those who don't know in the movie, he's the guy who, sort of the comic relief character. And then an extended ending, where at the ending of Mosquito, guy just, the house blows up, one guy hid in the fridge, find him, they go, boom, credits. Well, it actually went further, where they went onto the road and then pretty much they walk off into the sunset. They walk off into the distance with a crane shot. And which I liked. I mean, it's nothing with bugs or anything like that, but I liked it because the ending, they're fine with it, but it seems abrupt. But sues up into the happy ending. And you also have behind the scenes footage featuring actual commentary with Gary Jones, which is like 50 minutes long, of literally just behind the scenes back in 1995 of them shooting the shop that they worked at and the bugs and shooting on location and planning the fight between Steve Dixon and Gunnar Hansen and doing all this other stuff. When they blew up the house at the end, which is really a miniature, and how they did that. Shot way back in 1995, so wow, it's like 50 minutes of that. Plus you get the trailer, you get a still gallery, yeah, reversible cover art, which I showed you the other side, which sort of an ode to Independence Day when you look at it. Because the beam that shoots down into, not the White House, but the tent. And then even like a little card here, and artwork on the disc. Like, they went all out for a film like Mosquito, which really makes me smile about it. And the best thing is an hour and 15-minute making of Mosquito. Yes, Budding Out the Making of Mosquito by Red Shirt Pictures, Michael Felcher, which I will admit, there's a lot of times he does a great job with stuff. For example, this one. It's an hour and 15 minutes. It was really cool to see. They did pretty much anyone they could. They did Gary Jones, who directed it. They did Tom Chaney. You get the three people who were on the commentary. Director Gary Jones, DP and co-writer Tom Chaney, and producer David Thierry. You also get actors Gunnar Hansen, again before he passed away, Tim Lovelace, and Rachel Lucelle, who played the sort of the lead couple. Mike Hard, who plays Gunnar Hansen's brother. Josh Becker, who I didn't even realize it was him. Josh Becker is the guy who directed Thou Shalt Not Kill Except. He's worked behind the scenes with Sam Raimi and certain stuff. He's actually the guy who has sex with the girl in the tent, walks out with a beer, and I think he says, like, "What the fuck?" or something like that. And I remember when I first got this, I'm like, oh, they don't have that guy Steve Dixon. Well, it's because he passed away, as you find out during the documentary. Both Steve Dixon, who played the meteorologist, the guy who, he said he's the scientist, and at the end, he's like, what should I do? He hides in the fridge, and he's able to survive the explosion by hiding in the fridge, and he actually passed away. I guess he was some kind of officer, like a correctional officer or probation officer or juvenile care officer. He was some type of that. Kind of an authority figure, but at the same time people would say you talked to him and he was a nice guy, he was a sweetheart of a guy. The director even talks about how he came up to Steve Dixon and he's like, hey, I want you for this film. And the guy's like, what's it about? It's giant bugs, giant mosquitoes. and that the guy smiled and said, I want to do that. um, and I always liked him in the movie, so that's why they couldn't get him. I'm like, oh man, he passed away. That sucks. I don't know how he passed away, but... And then Ron Asheton, the comic relief, who was actually a musician who was with Iggy Pop when he was with the band, I want to say, called the Stooges. So yeah, Ron Asheton's, again, the comic relief. He's this guy here. Can't see him because it's blurry. But yeah, he was with Iggy Pop and said he always wanted to be, he would love to have been a B-movie actor. And about how Gary Jones had worked on 3 films that helped him get started. He worked on, was it Evil Dead 2? God, there was another movie he mentions. I can't think of it. God, I can't think of it. But I know another film he mentions was Moontrap. And how working on Moontrap really helped him to get to, because I was working with everything. Robotic stuff, um, all sorts of different kinds of special effects. So as he mentioned Moontrap in a positive way. So it's like, man, why can't we have a Moontrap Blu-ray in the U.S. by Stream Factory? Have better interviews with Walter Kate. Not one's done by some dipshit in Germany. And you did Gary Jones. He was talking about a little bit about Moontrap. I forget the third film he mentioned, but Thou Shalt Not Kill Except. That's what it was. Thou Shalt Not Kill Except. And then Evil Dead 2, and then Moontrap. And the original title was going to be Steeders, but then they read in a paper that there was a movie being made called Steeder, and then they wanted stuff like Blood Fever or Night Swarm. Then when they got in, it's like, bullshit, you're not calling it that. You're calling it Mosquito. Gunnar Hansen, he's sprinkled throughout. And it's sad, you had Ron Ash and Steve Dixon when they give good, memories about them who passed away. Then it's kind of like, oh, it's a little bit sad to watch because, now Gunnar Hansen has passed away. But it's not these guys' fault. This was made before he passed away. But it's really sad to hear. But yeah, Gary Jones and them go back to the studio that they filmed a lot of their stuff at 20 years later, and they realize there's still some stuff there, like some pieces of film on the wall and stuck on the wall. And I'm not going to go in depth on every single bit of the documentary, but yeah, it's an hour and 15 minutes. It's very in depth, and Josh Becker has a funny thing where he was hired. And he's like, well, you don't do a love scene. And Josh Becker's like, well, I don't want to be naked. And the director's like, oh, you're not going to be naked. And then when he got on set, people are like, oh, I can't believe you don't do you don't want to be naked for that love scene. Then Josh Becker comes to the director, hey, everyone's telling me I don't want to be naked. The director's like, you are. And Josh Becker's like, well, you told me. And then Gary Jones like, I lied. So he did the love scene naked with the girl in the tent. And you even get the girl who was naked in the tent interviewed, and she seems like a cool person. She didn't care about being naked. She's like, oh, okay, fine. I'm fine with being naked. And like there was these things like they put on her sort of like flesh color panties, and it was like tough for them to film around. And she's like, why don't we just film without it? And she just seems like a very cool person, very nice lady. And still looks beautiful to this day. But, yeah, you have a lot of good stuff in this. So if you're at all a fan of this, you should definitely get this. If you're at all a fan. Because first off, unless you're one of the lucky few that had that DVD, you only have it on a DVD or VHS, so why not get this Blu-ray? Second off, you did a commentary, you did an hour and 15-minute documentary, some deleted scenes, 15 minutes of behind the scenes from back in the day, trailer and a still gallery, and really cool reversible cover art. That, and then I showed you the other one. So yeah, I have no complaints on this. When I first started, I'm like, oh, there's no Steve Dixon, and then find out he passed away. I'm like, well, that makes sense. And that's very sad to hear. Steve Dixon, and then I knew Ron Asheton passed away, and of course Gunnar Hansen. But thankfully he was able to talk about it. And Gunnar Hansen has nice words about Mosquito. He talks about how the film never really got its due, and how if it was, because another little piece of info, I guess I could. There's this company named Hemdale that they were able to get the film to, and about immediately after they went bankrupt. So thus the film didn't get much of a release, kind of dumped out there, which sucks, but that's how it goes. And even Gunnar Hansen says that it should have been released, it should have gotten a better release. And he mentions like an interview with Entertainment Weekly, which gave Mosquito a B+. And pretty much what I said before, there was a Killer Bud movie made by people who love Killer Bud movies. Giant Killer Bud movies. And, yeah, really good documentary. Very in-depth. Quite a few people involved with it. And, yeah. I wish Steve Dixon and Ron Asheton were still alive so they could have given their thoughts on it. Well, as well as just be alive in general, but unfortunately that's not how it is. But, I'm thankful that Gunnar Hansen was able to at least. I wish he was still with us, Gunnar Hansen. But it's nice to hear from him on it. But yeah, rest in peace, Gunnar Hansen, first and foremost. And Synapse did a great job with Mosquito. It's definitely worth the pickup. I have nothing bad to say about it. So yeah, that's my Blu-ray review of Mosquito. It's more than worth it. Synapse, they do a great job with their stuff. So, thanks for watching. Take care. And we will see you later. Bye-bye.